Welcome to our 10-minute table talk. I am Pastor Holman. And in the midst of all things that are going on currently right now, June the 2nd, 2020, we see a lot of melee in the land. We see a lot of social unrest. We see rioting. We see looting. Coming on the backside of COVID-19, 2020 has been a year for the ages. And even with all that is going on, there are people right now that are walking around seemingly with hopelessness in their hearts. And when one loses hope, one loses purpose. Hope is a joyful expectation of something getting better. But when you continually get the same results over and over and over and over again, one tends to lose hope. So I want to encourage you today with a word from Paul out of the book of Philippians, chapter number 4. And I believe that it is an appropriate word by which we all need to understand about what's going on today. Paul said in verse number 6, he said, "Be anxious for nothing." In other words, he said, let your spirit be settled. And you got to understand about what's going on in the context of what Paul is writing in Philippians. Paul is inside of a Roman a dungeon right now on behalf of preaching the gospel of Christ. He is in jail while he is writing this letter to the church at Philippi. And so there's a lot of different moving parts that are contextually relevant to this particular letter, and even what we're facing right now in 2020. Paul said, let your spirit be calm, even in the midst of unrest, even in the midst of violence, even in the midst of what's going on right now in our day. Paul said to let your spirit be at rest. He said, be anxious for nothing. And then by making your spirit be at rest, he said to do this, by prayer and supplication, let your requests be made known unto God. And saints, I want to encourage you with that word today. It would be good if you would turn off the TV, but for a moment. It would be good if you unplug from social media, but for a moment. It would be good if you close the newspaper, but for a moment. Because on every single turn, there seems to be bad news that is directed in our way every single day. And you can go into bad news overload. You can get so much bad news all at once that you tend to get hopeless. So Paul said here, let your spirit be made at peace. And then in addition to that, by prayer and supplication, let your requests be made known unto God. Paul tells us to get into our quiet place, allow our spirits to be calm, and pray. That may seem like an anomaly. That may not seem like the answer for today's problem is by praying. Some may say that we've prayed long enough and nothing has happened. But Paul says, calm your spirits and allow your spirit to pray. And then he says this, by allowing your spirit to be calm, allowing your spirit to pray, he says, the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. Think about the images that you see on TV right now. Think about the images that you see that are permeating the news. Think about the fires that are blazing in Minnesota and in Los Angeles and in Atlanta. Think about the people that are being trampled as cars are riding over them. Think about the people that are looting the stores. You don't get a sense of peace right now in 2020. But here's how Paul said peace will be achieved by all of us, is allowing our spirits to be calm, allowing our spirits to pray. And then Paul made a promise that if we do those two things, the peace of God, not the peace of man, and not the peace that comes from a guilty verdict of people who have done wrong, but the peace of God will guard our hearts and our minds in Christ Jesus. And right now, what this world needs is peace. And the kind of peace that we need is not a justification from the judicial system peace. We need a peace of God. We need God to guard the hearts of the people that are currently in our world today. And so how do you look at what's going on right now? I want to encourage you with what Paul said in Philippians chapter 4. And I want you to remember that Paul is writing this from a jail cell while preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. He said, let your spirit be calm. Let your spirit pray. And by doing that, God will give you a supernatural peace that surpasses all understanding. There is hope that every day is not going to be like today. There is a hope that things will get better. I know you've been hearing that since say hi to a grasshopper. I understand that. As a matter of fact, Peter says that we've been hearing about these things for eons upon eons and nothing has changed. I know that you've heard that better days are coming and still we're in tumultuous times, but hope continues to wake us up every single day. Hope says that Monday is going to be better than Sunday. And even if Monday looks like Sunday, then Tuesday's going to be better than Monday. And even if Tuesday looks like Monday, then Wednesday's going to be better than Tuesday. Hope says every time that I wake up in the morning, I have an opportunity for a better day. And saints of God, when you lose hope, you lose all purpose. So keep your eyes lifted up, Psalms 121, unto the hills from which cometh your help, because all of your help comes from the Lord.